So there were a couple of ironic rules lawyers in the comments to this rules lawyer video saying that actually that's not rules lawyering, that's rules pernicketting or something. That's rules discrepancy. That's not a rules lawyer. A rules lawyer is actually somebody who blah, 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 and just people who are saying things without any sense of irony. Rules nitpicking. That's actually called a rules shark, not a rules lawyer. Blah, blah, blah in the comments. I'm like, seriously? You can't hear yourself right now? Rules mansplaining. Rule-splaining. Recursive actuallys, yeah. Hey Rob, been looking forward to this one. At some point in the session, can you please cover the turn order to explain how Targram died seemingly in one round? It confused a bunch of us, but I'm sure there's a reason. That one wasn't nearly as important to me for this particular script because it wasn't what the joke was about. Awesome. Oh, I love it. I like this one. Did Rowan understand any of what he was saying? That was the hardest part about filming this whole scene, Flooded by Cat. So I was literally about to get into it. So after last week's episode, which if you were here for the behind the scenes of, you remember I said last week was the hardest episode, man. Thank you for the follow. It was the hardest, one of the hardest ones to write. It was the hardest one to film and the hardest one to edit. And after all of that, it was such a pleasant experience to go through all of the edits with the editor and explain in a very nitpicky way about how I needed things to be in a particular order, because the joke of last episode was how they're in turn-based turn order in an initiative situation. So I needed to make sure that the turn order was correct. In this one, the turn order is still technically correct because I worked it out and made sure it was, but I wasn't as worried about showing the audience that it was correct. I just needed to know for my own sake. So I didn't focus on showing the order that the turn order was the audience that the turn order in this round was correct, because that's not what the punchline of the joke was about, so it wasn't as important. So it was a real breeze to go through all of the nitpicky bullshit with the episode 2 and the editor getting frustrated with me being like, we need to get this signed off by VFX. We can't keep making changes and things. And then eventually we get that signed off. Episode 2's done, or sent to the VFX anyway. And he makes a start on episode 3, and he sends me this, and he goes, first draft of episode 3, and I was like, yep, that's pretty much it. That's done. Yeah. And he was like, oh, thank fuck, are you serious? And I was like, yeah, I told you, man, the second episode is going to be a bitch, but everything else shouldn't be okay. It shouldn't be too bad. Like, episode 2, I always knew was going to be a pain in the ass. Episode 3 is fine. Episode 4 is fine. He's done a bang-up job with most of the other episodes. So this didn't go through many iterations in the edit at all. I tell you what I'll do. I'll open up Rules Lawyer. Exterior battlefield day. The party are fighting enemies, and Wizard is hit and felled. So first draft, I was like, I don't know what they're going to be fighting. It doesn't matter. They're MacGuffins. Doesn't matter if they're orcs, goblins, zombies, whatever the fuck they're fighting. It's not important to the skit, so they can be just enemies. A placeholder. Was Rowan always going to be the actor to play the rules lawyer? Yes. So I thought it was hilarious to make Rowan, of all people, the man who's taken however many episodes that we've actually played D&D together, to still not quite understand how rage works or what he has to add to roll to hit. I wanted to make him the rules lawyer that nitpicks over the very minutiae of the wording of the rules on page 274 or whatever. And I think I was right. I should have called them MacGuffins. I'll hit the MacGuffin with my shillelagh. Party are fighting enemies. I even just placeholdered party because I was like, I don't really know who's in the party. I don't know who's going to be in the background. It doesn't really matter. I also knew that as funny as it was to make Rowan the rules lawyer, he would also do a really good job of it because of the way that he acts on board as manager. Like he would do a really good job of being like, just like that antagonistic asshole kind of character. He plays it well. Orcs, bandits, Soul's Logic. Reusing Soul's Logic. Wizard is hit and felled. Oh crap! I'm down, guys! Paladin falls unconscious and is bleeding out. I think that's because Paladin was the wizard role originally. Paladin was the one going down. And then I changed Paladin to Wizard, but I didn't change it here. I got you, ma'am. No, Druid. You need to keep your Flame Blade up because it'll do more damage. You see, Ranger wasn't even the rules lawyer at this point. I just knew that Rowan was, and I hadn't decided on the casting for which character Rowan should be yet. Need to get your Flame Blade up because it'll do more damage. Yeah, it's fine, I can do both. No, you can't. Rules lawyer was just its own character. Yeah, I can. Flame Blade's real quick. So, some people are asking, why did I decide on this particular rule to rules lawyer for the episode? And I'm not exactly sure. I don't remember it being a moment where I decided it. It was just like, it was always decided that this was going to be the particular rule that the hill that they die on. I think it's just because for a long time I've known about this rule, and it's sort of my go-to as an example, sort of the most egregious example in my head about the very particular wording of a rule in D&D that is A, really pedantic, B, not known about by a vast majority of DMs, and C, widely discussed and debated by the ones that actually do know about it. And so it kind of met the trifecta of what I needed from this skit. So it was always going to be that way, as you can see, even from draft 1. It was always going to be this particular rule that he's arguing about. Flameblade's real quick. Yeah, but it's not a cantrip. So what? So here, Druid is trying to stay in character by using real quick instead of saying it's a bonus action. She's not using the game terms. She's using in real life terms. Yeah, but it's not a cantrip. He doesn't mind about that, though. Cure Wounds takes some time, i.e. Cure Wounds is an action. But Flame Blade's super quick, i.e. Flame Blade's a bonus action. Looks patronisingly at Druid, takes out a gavel and bangs it to punctuate. So he was originally the judge and the lawyer. Everyone groans. God damn it, not now, dude. Wears his powdered wig and gown. As he talks, lots of reaction shots of people face-palming, eye-rolling, etc. This was the one difficult thing in the writing of this script, is that it's a joke about something being boring in D&D. It's a joke about the boring nature of somebody who focuses on the rules rather than the story and grinds things to a halt. For the joke to work, we need to see that sort of the action being ground to a halt by his boring nature, but we also don't want to bore the audience who's watching the skit. So it's an interesting, tricky balance that we have to strike between him being boring and the skit being boring. So, ladies and gentlemen of the table, the opposing counsel, which have you believe, yada yada yada. And as stated in the player's handbook, chapter 9, combat, on page 189, article your turn, subsection bonus action, quote, various classes, features, spells and other abilities let you take an additional action on your turn called a bonus action, end quote. Yeah, so what's the problem? However, the very same Player's Handbook, Chapter 10, Spellcasting, page 202, article, casting a spell, subsection, casting time, clause, bonus actions, quote, you can't cast another spell during the same turn except for a cantrip with a casting time of 1 action. Alright, man, we don't need to go through the whole thing. I'll just make sure that one of them is a cantrip, fine. No Flame Blade, I'm afraid, but I'll cast Shillelagh instead. That's a cantrip and a bonus action. I can do that, right? Yes, you can. Okay. And now I'll cast Cure Wounds. Objection! What? What now? Can you read in a loud, clear voice so the stenographer can hear you the passage I just quoted? Blah, blah, blah. Now tell me, is it a cantrip with a cast time on an action? Same as before, blah, blah, blah. Written there in plain English for all the world to see is the truth of the matter. If it is writ, you must abide by it. Which only one comment in the hundreds that I went through, only one comment said, I like the little nod to the OJ trial there. Nobody else thought to point it out. Even if they saw it, they didn't comment on it. So I was like, thank goodness somebody actually caught it, because I was starting to wonder whether the OJ trial nod there that I've put in was too subtle, because I even had to explain the whole thing to Rowan. So show of hands here in the chat, who understands that's a little reference to something? If it is writ, you must abide by it. I heard it loud and clear. I saw it, so there. In the there's a famous quotation from the OJ trial where a piece of evidence was a bloodied leather glove, and because of the blood on it, it had like misshapen and shrunk the glove. So the glove didn't fit OJ Simpson anymore. It was a driving glove. And the defense claimed that if the glove didn't fit OJ anymore, then he couldn't have been the one that was wearing it when he murdered his wife. And there's a famous quote where the defense said, "If the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit." And it was like, ooh, catchy and rhymes. If the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit. So if it is writ, you must abide by it. Is a reference to that. And only one person in the hundreds of comments in the under the YouTube caught it. So I'm glad that somebody caught it. How can OJ get married and murder its wife? Druid turns to Paladin, still dying on the floor. So yeah, it was obviously Paladin, not Wizard to begin with. Steps down from the stand and drops the club to kneel by Wizard. So I've changed it there, but not there somehow. 79% of people did not get the OJ reference. You've already cast Shillelagh, so unless you have some version of Cure Wounds that's a cantrip now, then I will hit the orc with my Shillelagh. It's going to be an orc originally. I just put in some random enemy. I'll hit the orc with my Shillelagh and hope the Wizard survives one more round. Objection. I swear to the gods I will end you. I really enjoy the joke that Rules Lawyer, the Shillelagh doesn't end until Rules Lawyer points out that it's ended. Like, she's dropped the weapon, she's doing her thing, and she picks the weapon up and threatens Rules Lawyer with it, but then it turns back into a mundane weapon. I really like that. It's Wile E. Coyote logic, where as long as you don't look down, you haven't realised that you've run off a cliff. It's when he runs off the cliff and then looks down and goes, uh-oh, and then he drops. It's that kind of logic. I loved it. The club reverts to a mundane weapon. Gods damn it. Wizard rolls a death save and dies. No, great. Wizard's dead. Rules Law is suddenly back into an adventurer's outfit. Oh man, totally unfair of the DM. This was obviously even before I had the recurring joke of Wizard being the one who keeps coming back. And then the actual end script, draft 4 or something.
A new
is pretty much what you see on the screen. So no point going through that one. Thank you very much for Hound Dog to subscribe with Prime for 4 months. So yeah, that's the changes that were made to the script. One comment wondered why Alan wasn't the judge. Alan wasn't there on the day. I didn't need to bring him in for filming all the way just because he's the DM. Because the point is that the DM is never at the table because he's never a character. So my point was to try and never see the DM in this world unless the DM is in the world. Like if he's playing a bad guy, then we might see Alan in there. And because these alien zombie whatever the fuck they are not like necessary. They're not like named bad guys. The DM isn't playing them. They're just like mooks that are playing themselves, kind of thing.
My passive perception is 24. I see you follow.
Thank you for the follow there, Gwynbear. Another reason that Alan wasn't the judge is that my character, the fighter, is kind of the de facto leader of the group. So I wanted to semi-establish that as well, just like to start setting up in minor ways the relationships of all of the party members to each other, and the fact that the rules lawyer even looks to my character as kind of like the leader of the group, which again is further established in future episodes that you'll see. People kind of look to my guy as the one to take charge and take us in a direction. I'm the one who kind of gives out orders in subsequent episodes. And if Alan had been the DM, it's very easy for him to just overrule the lawyer and just ruin the entire setup of the skit, because the DM could just be like, yeah, but I'm going to ignore that rule. Whereas my character as the judge doesn't actually have any power over anybody else at the table, but they all just kind of feel like he does. It would be impractical, but if every bad guy was Alan, yeah, that would be good. The Watcher, how's it going? VLDL videos, I hear they're super overrated. I mean, this one could do with being more rated. I think this is underrated, to be honest. I think it's fantastic. It's like a work of art. It's like a bloody masterpiece. This is going to stand the test of time, like Mona Lisa. I was a bit thrown by why your character was the judge. You'll see. Like over the next few episodes, it'll continue to be established that the rest of the party kind of see him as the de facto leader of the group. Pitching high, Rob. You got to aim for the stars, Fancy. And and that's another reason why I included the line of being like, "Oh, certainly, Your Honor," because my character's like, I'm not Your Honor. I'm not any more than you guys are. I don't know why you've included me in this role. It's because of your head that we're all in this jury situation right now.
Out! Oh! Ow! Oh! Out! 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 Out!
Ouch! 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 I just love it. I just told him whenever he died, I was just like, just go for it. Just be as much as you want to be. Over the top. Ouch, ouch, ouch. And then we can always cut it down. We can never add more if we don't have it, but we can always cut it down if we've got too much. I haven't watched these D&D logic videos. I haven't watched these videos less than 50 times. That's what you mean, yeah. Could almost say you're directing the party. Only bit I didn't like about this was the rules lawyer baiting the druid into failing. I mean, the rule he answered the question that she asked, and he was very pedantic rules lawyer asshole about it. Like, actually, you asked me if it was possible for you to cast a cantrip that is a bonus action. That's all you asked, and I said yes. I didn't say that you could do this and then do this other thing.
Perception is 24.
So that was also intentional.
I see you following me.
Gen30, thank you for the follow.
Damn it,
Targrim! Ouch! 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 Ow!
Oh! Oh! Ow!
Oh! Ow!
Ouch! 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 Ouch!
Ouch! Ouch! Ouch!
Damn it, Targrim!
Pathetic death sounds comes up when she says "damn it, Targrim," but not while he's actually making pathetic death sounds. I don't know what's up with the subtitles, but I've noticed all of the subtitles so far and the previous 2 episodes. Thank you to Arthur for the raid. All the subtitles have been off. I don't know what's going on with them. Thank you for the raid to Arthur. We are going through some behind the scenes about the latest episode of D&D Logic. You haven't watched this episode yet? Well, get to it. It's only 3 minutes long or something. Go watch 3 episodes, 3 minutes, go, and then come back. How was your stream? What were you doing? I know. YouTube subtitles are fucking up recently. I hit our YouTube contact about it. Much annoying. Yeah, I don't know. I was just ranting earlier today, Adam, about the other YouTube annoying thing about when you put something on a playlist that is unlisted and people can still see it just by going through the playlist instead of by going through the link, and how that's been a known problem with YouTube for ages now, and they just haven't done anything to fix it. It's a pain in the ass. Lachlan didn't do them. That's what's wrong with them. Yeah, that is what's wrong with them. Arthur was doing some art again. Nice. Anyway. Pathetic death sounds. Damn it, Targrim.
I got you.
No, Ovek. We need you to get your flaming blade active. We need the extra damage.
See, I've got nothing. I've got no say in the matter, but I'm kind of taking charge of the situation. Just a small hint that my character's sort of a take charge kind of a person. This is some shiny white tusks. Yeah, we're gonna. I think for season 2, if we do get a season 2, if it's popular enough, I'd really like to get some like purpose-made, custom molded tusks for her, because she was having such a hard time with enunciation, with like pre-made tusks that were trying to sit into her mouth. We need to get like proper high quality, and albeit expensive, we need to get some expensive high quality ones made for her face, because for her teeth particularly. She did an excellent job talking around them though. Yeah, it was not an easy job, and we had to do a few takes trying to get words right, and every so often one of them would fall out, but she did a great job with what we had to give her.
It's fine, I can do both.
No, you can't.
Yeah, I can.
You can.
Flame Blade is real quick.
Yeah, but it's not a cantrip.
So what?
Following me.
Cure wounds.
I like his little indication there that like, oh, you're gonna go down this road. It's like a you step into me kind of a.
Yeah,
You're gonna challenge me on this?
Quick.
Yeah, but it's not a cantrip.
So what? Cure wounds.
You want to do this? Are there any vocal exercises practiced with tusks in place? I imagine any of the vocal exercises that train you to over enunciate with your lips maybe might work. I don't know.
It's a little bit of time, but Flame Blade is super quick.
Oh, God damn it, Theron. You don't need a rules lawyer right now.
Ladies and gentlemen.
That is one of the things that indicates that there's been a change. Obviously, it's changed to get him in costume and getting everybody else in costume as well. Like in the world, everybody is suddenly in their own little costumes. But it also is sufficient enough to hide the rest of the round from happening. That's why I didn't care about the turn order per se, because there's nothing to say that the rest of the turns didn't happen in that little cut. So as far as I care, he went down. So the enemy has a turn, stabs the wizard. The wizard's go is immediately after the enemy, and then and the wizard takes his turn and fails a death save. And then at some point before or after the druid's turn, the rest of the party takes their turns. Maybe they're just doing nothing because of this guy slowing everything down. Maybe they're just like, I ready an action for when this guy's shut up. And then druid takes her turn, and then eventually on his next turn, the dwarf takes his final turn and rolls a 1 on his death save and fails 2 more and dies. So as long as the dwarf gets 2 turns, one of which is a fail and one of which is a nat 1, it's still possible that it works. But I wasn't as bothered about. I basically worked it out in my head that I was like, yeah, this can work, and I don't need to show it working because that's not the punchline of this joke, unlike last week.
Of the gaming table. The opposing counsel would have you believe that.
Who was playing the zombies? I don't know the name of both of them, but one of them, I think this guy at the back, was my good friend Adrian, whom I went through drama school with and has worked with Viva on a couple different things. And he did a bunch of Shakespeare here in Auckland as well for a couple of years, touring with the Shakespeare company. He's a very good actor.
Cure wounds and flame blade can both be cast in the same turn, because one is an action and one is a bonus action. Now, at first glance,
I just kept, like, we obviously got all of these at separate times, such as the magic of theatre, where you can get, like, you just focus on Rowan through the entire skit and then focus on Tamika through the entire skit.
Can both be
and so there was at one point
in the same turn.
From Shakespeare to Zombie Mask, yeah.
Is an action and one is a bonus action. Now,
so in this one, I just had the camera on them, and I was just like, I don't think Rowan was actually speaking. I was just like standing behind my little desk, and I said, "All right, look bored." Get a few seconds of that. All right, now look confused. All right, now sort of follow your eyes back and forth as if you're seeing him pacing around the courtroom. And now look frustrated, and then now look outraged, and got all of those reactions, and then cut them in as is. But I really like that the editors put this together as if the zombie's going, "What? I don't get it. What is Flame Blade?" And Britt looks so bored, and Phoenix is super bored. Look.
At first glance, this doesn't seem to be an issue.
And I like the solution that we came to when we were going through that first draft and going, "This is boring." And the joke is that he's boring, but we shouldn't be boring to the audience. So how to find that balance? And I like that this cuts out a lot of that unnecessary dialogue where he's setting up the joke by me just cutting in as the judge and being like, just skip to the part that you actually are drawing us here for. Why have you brought us into this bloody courtroom in the first place?
Can we skip forward to the bit you have a problem with, please?
Of course, Your Honour.
I'm not Your Honour. What do you...
The players
I look weird in that
bit
shot.
you have a problem with,
like
please.
I don't know
Of
why.
course, Your Honour.
I'm not Your Honour.
I don't know what I don't like about this shot. I think I'm weirdly lit or something. My skin looks particularly pink.
What do you? The Player's Handbook, Chapter 10, Spellcasting.
I love that not everybody's in every skit. Yeah, it would have been absolutely wild if we'd have tried to get 9 different cast members as the players alone, and then bad guys and the DM maybe in every skit. It would have been crazy. I deliberately had like a rule of 5 essentially, like no more than 5 party members in a skit unless there's a particular reason for it, which a couple of them do have, like the initial one where we're introducing everybody, and the end too, where we're sort of culminating the campaign. So I had more than 5 for those ones, but generally I was like, if I can have a skit where everything can be done by 4 or 5 of the cast members, then that's fine, because that's generally what you want around a gaming table. You want a party of 4 or 5 as the ideal numbers. Anything if you're playing D&D with like 7 people, that's too many people. So yeah, I deliberately tried to have it as like more of a West Marches campaign where, well, on this particular day, the druid and the ranger, the rogue, the fighter, and the bard, they were the only ones available to play, so they went ahead with the game. The barbarian wasn't in this one because he wasn't available this day, kind of thing.
Page 202, and I quote, "You cannot cast another spell during the same turn except for a cantrip. Casting time of 1 action."
So the hardest thing, so I've mentioned before, I mentioned earlier in this stream, that it was relatively easy to write this script and relatively easy to film it and relatively easy to edit it. The hardest part, the one thing that made this a difficult scene, was getting Rowan, whom I deliberately cast for this reason in this role. So I've only got myself to blame. But getting him to understand the rules that he was talking about was the hardest part, because even with a book in hand, and you can see some of these over on the VLDL Patreon if you want to see the behind the bloopers. If you want to see the bloopers for this, it's quite funny. But even with the book in hand, when he goes at one point, page 202, spellcasting, and I quote, a bonus shit, what is it? I'm like, you're reading it. It's in front of you. I'd say, do you want the script? But you've literally got the script in your hand. it's in. He's like, yeah, but why can she not cast it? And I was like, okay, so you can only cast 2 spells in a round if one of them's a cantrip. Okay, but didn't you just say Shillelagh was a cantrip? Yeah, that's the joke. The joke is that Shillelagh's a cantrip, but it's a bonus action. Is a bonus action a cantrip? So a bonus action's a cantrip. No, bonus action and cantrips are 2 different things. Oh, okay. But you said Shillelagh was a bonus action and a cantrip, so they're the same thing. No, it's not. They're not the same thing.
24. I see you following me.
Banail Lukawa, thank you very much. So the hardest thing was explaining, and it is like to his credit, a lot of new players. Not that he's a new player, but a lot of new players still have a lot of struggling to differentiate the casting time of a spell with the power of the spell. They think that a bonus action spell must be weaker than an action spell, when it's the level that makes that power difference. You can cast a level 9 bonus action spell. You could cast Healing Word as a level 9 spell. You can cast a cantrip as an action. So the casting time, whether it's an action or a reaction or a bonus action, is nothing to do with the power of the spell, whether it's a cantrip or a level 1 or level 2 or so on. So that was a very difficult conversation to have on the day, trying to get him to actually understand what he's saying and then to actually learn the words. Because the important thing for me in this one is, as a real pedant, I needed him to get all of the quotes right, because I would definitely hear about it in the comments if they were wrong. The whole point is that he has memorized this book. He knows it back to front by page numbers and quotes. He should be able to quote this book off the top of his head without even looking at the pages.
End quote.
All right.
So if he actually gets the quote wrong,
action. End quote.
we won't hear the end of it in the comments.
I will make sure one of them's a cantrip. Fine. No flame blade, I'm afraid. But I'll cast Shillelagh instead. That's a cantrip.
This is my stealth
action,
way to get Rowan to learn the
right?
PHP.
You may.
Great. Do that, right?
You may.
Instead. That's a cantrip and bonus action, and I can do that, right?
You can. She asks, I can do that. And he says yes. Because, actually, you can cast a cantrip that is a bonus action.
You may.
Great.
Yeah, man. The VFX are amazing. I just told the VFX guys, I basically just copied the spell and sent them that and said, Shillelagh, it turns a wooden thing that you're holding, a club or a staff or whatever, quarterstaff, into a magical quarterstaff. It becomes visibly infused with druidic magic. And that's like all it says. And I was like, make something that looks threatening. It has to look like it's imbued with nature, so something with a greenish tinge probably. And it has to look like it's thorny or pulsing or something. Whatever you want. Go nuts. And then they sent me a couple of options and I said, yep, perfect.
And now, I'll cure wounds.
Objection!
What? You just said that I could do that.
Can you please read for me in a loud voice so the stenographer...
It makes a stick Irish. It's like making an Irish coffee. It's making an Irish stick. I love it. How bad's Rowan at remembering the rules of D&D on a scale of 1 to amoeba? So the scale goes downwards? You can see for yourself, Colsey. How long has he played a barbarian? And how does he still not know what number to add when he rolls to hit? Bad cut. What was a bad cut?
And now, I'll cure wounds.
Objection!
What? You just said that I could do that.
Can you please read for me in a loud voice so the
Not seeing any bad
stenographer can
cuts.
hear you?
What stenographer?
The passage that I just quoted.
Yada yada yada. Except for a cantrip with a casting time of
When Rowan gives Tamika the book, it's a bad cut.
Shillelagh. And now, I'll cure wounds.
Objection!
What? You just said that I could do that.
Can you please read for me in a loud voice so the stenographer can hear you?
What stenographer?
The passage that I just quoted. Stenographer can hear you.
Staff swaps hands.
Stenographer.
Man, we've really dropped the ball on that one, Future. I'm fucking outraged at myself at how we could have missed such an important detail. I can't believe. I'm ashamed. There's no other word for it. I'm absolutely ashamed of myself. It's been nice knowing you, everybody. I'm sorry. I'm unsubscribing. Shame. Ding ding. Shame. Ding ding. I can't believe how much I don't care. Stream over. Pack it up. Remove the video. Film it all again. I'm going to fire Tamika as well. I can't believe that she didn't keep a track of her own continuity of which hand
My
her...
passive perception is 24.
Zelda Nova, thank you very much for the follow. Thanks for the memories. Let's pack things up. I'm going to fire Tamika. I'm going to send her this. Somebody clip it for me. Tamika, the fuck is this? Look. What stenographer? You had your shillelagh in your left hand, and now it's in your right hand? What kind of actress doesn't keep a track of her own continuity? When I'm pretty sure that there was something else in between this bit that got cut out in the edit to make things nice and quick, maybe. She'll end you. She will. She'll swear to the gods she'll end me. I'm gonna fire the what are they called? Script supervisor. Fire the script supervisor, person who's in charge of continuity. Oh, that's right. We didn't have one.
That I just quoted.
Yada yada yada. Except for a cantrip with a casting time of 1 action.
Now, is
Shillelagh
Shillelagh a cantrip with a casting time of 1 action? No. No, it is not. As you just said moments ago, Shillelagh is a cantrip.
Continuity. Looking at Mirror Man, where did Ben come out for episode 2? That was intentional, Future. There is a joke that pays off in episode 10 about the fact that he's missing in episode 1. So fucking stop stepping to me, bruh! Script supervisor, you mean yourself? Yeah, it was definitely my job. I'm actually surprised it hasn't been pointed out in the YouTube comments, given their nitpicking. Yeah, I'm surprised it hasn't. Congratulations, Future. You're more nitpicky than 1,000 comments in the YouTube comment section. How does that make you feel?
With a casting time of 1 bonus action. Therefore, vis-a-vis hence with not...
Yeah, the subtitles miss Tamika whispering no as well.
Is a cantrip with a casting time of 1 bonus action.
I love that all throughout this skit you can see Rowan like trying to find his lines because he's like, I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. I don't know what I'm doing. What does any of this mean?
Therefore, vis-a-vis hence with notwithstanding the aforementioned...
Needless to say, all of this was Rowan improvising, technical law-sounding jargon.
Therefore, vis-a-vis hence with notwithstanding the aforementioned henceforth, and so be it.
He does such a fucking good job, man. He's so good at playing the antagonist asshole that everybody else is like, ugh, fucking hell. I mean, he's had years of doing it as the manager in Board, hasn't he? So you'd hope he'd be good at it. That was improvised. Yeah, that was some impressive bullshittery. It's making it sound like he's saying something.
If it is writ, then thou must abide by it.
You got a good point there, Cot. Cot Pollinut says that it's intentional. Those sorts of mistakes, we put them in so that we can then we can cash in on it later.
Adventurer joins the team.
Alizarin, thank you very much. If you put in tiny little mistakes that don't make any difference, then you can cash in on it with a 10 mistakes you may have missed in the D&D Logic series, and then extra views, extra money, milking the same content over and again. What is Dag saying? You mean the player who makes a character the same day as session 1 and stresses their Australian friend out? I don't know what we're talking about. Don't know what you're talking about. I always make my characters on time. By the way, everybody, I think I've got a game tomorrow morning with Dead as a Gamer, just unrelated to that comment. And so after this stream, I'll definitely be going over the character that I've definitely already made for that game. So, I don't know, he can't be referencing me. You're just fishing YouTube. You're fishing for YouTube comments for the algorithm. That's what it is, yeah. For the D&D noobs among us, can you give an example of a way and spells you can cast on the same turn? So she could have cast any cantrip that's an action, so like Firebolt, and then also cast a bonus action spell like Healing Word. Because the action, in the rules, the action spell has to be the cantrip. You can't have the other way around. You can't have a spell level as the action and a cantrip as the bonus action, which is what she did. It has to be the other way around. Which is ridiculous, obviously, and most people would just ignore it. Do you stream character creation? I have done in the past, yeah. Sounded like you were going to be playing AoE after I saw that. What are you talking about, Ajo? I'm not even... what do you mean? Area of effect? Is that what you're talking about? AoE? What else could that possibly refer to? I would have aimed the stick at whatever it is at Rowan.
Fine. I will just cure wounds.
What's the logic of that rule? I think it, honestly, Chiadriel, I think the rule is just a mistake. It's like an omission by the game designers, because of there's about 500 spells in D&D 5th edition so far, with more coming out every other month. There's about 500 spells, maybe even more now. And of all of those spells, there are only 2 spells that are a cantrip and a bonus action. Shillelagh is one of them, and there's a spell called Magic Stone, which is the other one. And so then I think they just forgot that there was a little loophole. By writing it in a particular way, they forgot that they were omitting 2 spells from working as a bonus action cantrip. So I genuinely put it down to that, rather than like there's a reason for it to not be that way around. Because it makes there's no balance difference if you make it that way around or the other one. You gave me this Sunday one, but I have a second game shortly after.
My passive perception is 24. I see you.
Thank you, whoever that follower is. Italian Ant. Someone in the comments told me if you multiclass into fighter and get action surge, you can cast 3 action spells because you have 3 actions, but I don't think that's right, right? That is not right. You can get fighter and then action surge for 2 action spells, so you can cast 2 action spells, but you can't cast 2 bonus action cantrip spells. It's ridiculous. We're not getting into it. You can cast 2 spells in one turn if both of them use concentration? No, you can't concentrate on more than 1 spell at once.
Use my bonus action.
Objection!
More
You
amazing
just cast
special effects.
Shillelagh.
Then I will hit the zombie with the
This took quite a while because for a long time the script said orc, and then it was pretty much only on the day when we got there and was like, right, what are we actually fighting? What are these enemies? They don't look like orcs. Let's make them zombies. And so I changed the script to zombie. And Tamika had learned the script as orc, and so she kept standing and saying, "Then I will hit the orc with the shillelagh." And I was like, "It's not an orc." Fuck again. So not only was she struggling to enunciate over those stupid tusks, but she was also having to remember a script change in the moment.
shillelagh and hope that Targum
Adam
here
uses
survives
quicken to
one
cast
more
2
round.
spells, yeah, because he makes one of them a
Objection.
bonus
I
action,
swear to the gods, I will end
which
you.
is well within this rule.
Player's Handbook, page 275. Shillelagh ends if you let go of the weapon.
God damn you!
Correct, Axeman. So, if you are a, let's say you're an Eldritch Knight, do they get cantrips? I can't remember. Let's say you're an Eldritch Knight High Elf and you've got a cantrip. You could cast a spell as an action. You could cast a spell as another action using your action surge. Then you could cast a bonus action cantrip in my world. But you couldn't do that rules as written because your bonus action would have to be a cantrip. So you'd be able to cast an action cantrip, then a bonus action spell, and then an action surge spell. Or you could cast if you were a sorcerer, for instance, with 2 levels in fighter, you could take your action to cast a spell, an action spell. You could take your action surge to cast another action spell. Then you could quicken spell, make one of the action spells into a bonus action, and cast it again. So in that way, you would be able to cast 3 action spells in 1 turn. But that's by using 2 levels in fighter, an action surge, and some sorcery points. Eldritch fighters know 2 cantrips, do they? Cool.
Shillelagh ends if you let go of the weapon.
So she technically would still have an action on her turn then, because she's cast a bonus action for Shillelagh. She hasn't used her action for anything. But it's funnier to just cut to the end of her turn.
Damn you!
In this cut there, it could be everybody else going in that little cut there. We could just cut over. It could be a time skip forwards to the point where he dies. It doesn't really matter.
Great. Now
Rolls.
Targrim's dead.
Rolls a nat 1 on his fail and fails his death save and he's dead.
Oh man, that sucks. That's totally unfair of the DM. He totally should have fudged the dice for you, man.
Another way of doing it without even taking 1 turn, it could even be if this appeases you as well, because I did think about these things quite a lot. I wanted to make sure that everything is possible to work. It could be that he has, well, for one thing, I'm just coming up with right now, he could have some sort of a curse that says that you only get one failed death save before you died. That could be a thing. He could also get something that says that maybe he's got a magic item that says when you go down, you immediately fail one death save, and then he only has to fail 2 more. He could also have he could have fallen onto a caltrop or something that causes damage. Maybe he's got some acid in his bag that smashes when he falls onto it. That's another thing that, yeah, bag of caltrops. Dead as a gamer got there in the same way. He could have fallen onto some caltrops. He could have fallen onto some acid. He could have taken damage when he fell. So he would have gone to 0, fallen down, taken the first failed death save from falling, and then it goes Druid's turn next. She fails to heal him. Wizard's turn right after. He fails 2 death saves and he's dead. Yep, poison that does damage at the start of his turn. That's another good rule there. Okay, Ladder. He could have been poisoned. Some sort of poison or an acid spell that acid splash, Melf's acid arrow, says it does damage on this turn and then it does damage on the next turn as well. There's also a sword of wounding that can deal damage to you when it hits and then again at the start of your next turn. Anything that he could have been starting his turn in an area of effect that deals damage at the start of your turn. There's a million different spells that do that. So basically he could have started his turn right after the Druid's turn, taken some damage, which makes him fail a death save, then rolled a saving throw and failed 2 more, and then died. So those are all probably the easiest way to think about it. It goes Zombie's turn, Druid's turn, Wizard's turn. Zombie takes him to 0, Druid takes her turn, Wizard takes his turn and dies. The Zombie Blade's unsanitary, yeah, and he gets a disease from it.
Oh no! Oh, Targrim! My identical brother dead! Don't worry, Targrim the Great.
He pauses for just the perfect comical amount of time. He's got such good comic time in his Byron.
Targrim the Great, vow to avenge thee.
Page 6.
And I just love that, like the bad guys that they're fighting with are now sitting alongside them in the jury, equally bored out of their mind by this guy's grinding of the rules.
69 of the Viva La Dirt League Code of Conduct. You must hit the subscribe button and check out our videos over here. Do it now, thank you.
Do it now, thank you. Vanity is the answer. Yes. So there was a lot of answers to why Alan wasn't the judge. He wasn't there on the day is the main reason. We were saving money by only having people called for the particular days that they were most needed for, and he wasn't needed this day for any of the other 3 skits that we were doing that day. So there was no reason to bring him in just to be a judge. And also because my character is being set up as the sort of de facto leader of the group. Have you had such cases in your games when, oh no, my brother's dead, but I'm his completely identical brother? No, I haven't. I don't tend to kill my my PCs too often. There's only a hand I can count on, except with the exception of the time that it was the end of a one shot, and one of them threw down a necklace of fireballs and cast this level 7 fireball on himself and the rest of the party, just kind of for the fun of it, and killed them all. With the exception of that very obvious outlier. I can count on one hand the number of times that a player character has died in one of my games. One of whom is in the chat right now, AK Cladder. And he didn't immediately come back as one of his brothers because that would have been a very peculiar way to tie that identical brother into the backstory that we'd come up with for Seed.
I will just cure wounds and not use my
How
bonus.
soft is your glove? Not very.
Objection! You just cast Shillelagh.
I love the subtle sort of sound effect there as it just immediately ceases. It doesn't fizzle out, so it doesn't sound like it's actually finished casting. It gets.
Objection! You just cast Shillelagh.
Then I will hit the zombie with the shillelagh and hope that Targrim here survives one more round.
Objection!
I swear to the gods I will end you!
Player's Handbook, page 275. Shillelagh ends if you let go of the weapon.
God damn you!
Stenographer is someone in a courtroom that writes down quickly what everybody's saying. They're taking a transcript of everything that's being said.
24. I see you following.
Infinity, thank you for the follow. Is that a Johnny Cochran reference? I don't think so.
Great.
'Cause I
Now
don't know who that
Targrim's
is.
dead.
Oh man, that sucks. That's totally unfair of the DM. He totally should have fudged the dice for you, man.
Oh no. Oh, Targrim, my identical brother dead. Don't worry. I, Targrim the Great, vow to avenge.
Subtitle error. Gods damn you.
Player's Handbook, page 275. Shillelagh ends if you let go of the weapon.
God damn you!
Yeah, gods damn you.
Great. Now Targrim's dead.
Oh man, that sucks. That's totally unfair of the DM. He totally should have fudged the dice for you, man.
Oh no.
Is this on the North Shore? No, this is out west.
Identical brother dead.
This is actually the same location as episode 1 and the location where we filmed the D&D series. It's all in the same resort.
Don't worry. I, Targrim the Great,
Targrim the Great.
vow to avenge thee.
This look more bored. Action. Okay, look even more bored.
Page
Yeah,
69 of the Viva la Dirt League Code of Conduct. You
There we
must
go.
hit the subscribe
That's
button
the episode.
and check out our
It was a fairly straightforward 1-2 film. We just had to get the enunciation of Tamika's lines and Rowan's understanding of his lines. It was relatively straightforward joke to write and to film and to edit. So not a heck of a lot to talk about in regards to the behind the scenes factor of it. Really need to go to that resort sometime. Yeah, it's overpriced, but it's a nice place. It looks real good. The toilets are absolute garbage though. Like for a real nice upper class place like that, the toilets are like a shitty bar. Like the taps are like you'll turn them. For a start, they're like hot and cold taps, not a single tap that. So it's like scalding fucking hot water, and you got to quickly stick them under the icy cold tap. And then second to that, only one of them ever works. And then thirdly, when you turn them, the entire faucet twizzles. It's never got paper in the dryers whenever we're there. There's like it's just like a generally all around shitty bar. Like the toilet roll holder is kind of hanging off of one screw, and it's like the rest of this place is a magical resort. Can I cast Shillelagh on a table leg? Yes, I believe so. Let me look up the exact wording of Shillelagh. Or you can, on page 279 of the Player's Handbook. Spellcasting, page 202 of the Player's Handbook. I wonder if I'll always remember which page spellcasting's on now because of that.
My passive perception is 20.
Cyber Janet, thank
I
you for the
see
follow.
you following me.
Hargrim or Pargrim? Subs on Facebook say Pargrim. It's Hargrim. Hargrim the Great. I, Hargrim the Great, vow to avenge thee.
My passive perception is 20.
Thank you for the follow there. Enchanting Kryptonite.
following me.
Shillelagh, level 0. It's a level 0 spell with one bonus action, a range of touch, vocal, somatic, and material components, blah, blah, blah. I suppose I should have had her saying some vocal component when she's casting. Oh, no, she does. She goes, Shillelagh. That's the vocal component. The wood of a club or quarterstaff that you are holding is imbued with nature's power. So technically it has to be a club or a quarterstaff. However, there's another part. You might think, oh, I guess I can't cast it on a table leg then. But there's another part of the D&D there's another part of the D&D Player's Handbook under combat weapons, subsection improvised weapons, that says if an improvised weapon, and I think it even says chair leg or table leg, one of the two, it says if an improvised weapon such as a table leg is essentially just a club, for example, you can just use the statistics of the weapon that it's similar to, like a club. So I think it even gives the example of using a table leg as if it's just the stats of a club, which would then make it fall under Shillelagh. So yeah, so if you broke off a table leg or a stool leg or something, it would essentially just be using the stats of a club, which at that point you can use Shillelagh on it. The wood of a club or quarterstaff that you are holding is imbued with nature's power. For the duration, you can use your spellcasting ability instead of strength for the attack and damage rolls on melee attacks using that weapon, and the weapon's attack die becomes a D8 rather than a D4 for an improvised weapon. The weapon also becomes magical if it isn't already. The spell ends if you cast it again, or if you let go of the weapon. Shillelagh ends if you let go of the weapon. Alright, I think that'll do it for tonight.